simple, so it's going to be like a simple genetics topic, and that is that if both of your parents have blue eyes, you can't have brown eyes. So hopefully I didn't just tell anyone that they're adopted. There are plenty of like exceptions and like wild cases, so not saying that these things are 110% true, but this basically brings in the topic of recessive and dominant genes. So dominant genes, you only need one copy of that gene in order to show the trait, whereas a recessive gene, you need a copy of that gene from both of your parents in order to get that trait. So essentially, when it comes to eye color, brown eyes is a dominant gene and blue eyes is a recessive gene. So to have brown eyes, you could have two dominant genes, two brown eye genes, or you could have one brown eye gene and one blue eye gene, and you're still gonna have brown eyes because brown eyes is dominant. Whereas in order to have blue eyes, you have to have two blue eye genes and no brown eye genes. And you may know this, I don't know how common knowledge it is, but when you have a child, you always pass on one gene, one allele for each gene, and so you have one copy of a gene from your dad and one from your mom. And so if both of your parents have blue eyes, that means they both have two recessive blue eye gene copies. So the only thing that they can pass on to you is a blue eye gene. They have no brown eye genes, and so you would have to have blue eyes. Whereas if both your parents have brown eyes, it's possible that they are both what we call heterozygous for the brown eye gene, meaning they have a brown eye and a blue eye gene, but they still have brown eyes. So they could both have brown eyes, but if they both pass on a blue eye gene to their child, like one parent passes on the one blue eye gene they have and the other passes on the one blue eye gene, the child can have blue eyes. So if both your parents have blue eyes, you cannot have brown eyes. But if both your parents have brown eyes, there is a slight possibility that you could have blue eyes. So that is my first fact. I hope I did a good job of explaining it. It might be easier if I could draw a Punnett square for you guys, but hey, we're doing well. So the second thing I'm going to talk about is X and Y chromosomes. So you might know that for humans, the X and the Y chromosomes are the sex chromosomes. So you have 22 pairs of what are called autosomes. So like body chromosomes, non-sex chromosomes, whatever you want to call them. And you get one copy of each of those from each of your parents. But the sex chromosomes are kind of different, and that is what determines if you are born a boy or a girl. And girls have two X chromosomes. So they get an X from each of their parents, whereas boys have an X and a Y. And so they have to get their X chromosome from their mother and their Y chromosome from their father, because, as I said, women have two X's, so it's not possible for them to pass down a Y. They're always going to give every child an X, and the dad is who determines if the child is a boy or a girl, because he's going to pass on either an X or a Y. So that's like the basics of sex chromosomes. So I have 3 facts that are about sex chromosomes. chromosomes or involve sex chromosomes. So the first one is that 10 times more men are colorblind than women. So anytime you see like a sex difference in a trait or disease, it generally means that that gene is located on a sex chromosome. So as I said before with recessive and dominant, if you have one copy of a recessive gene, but you also have one copy of the dominant gene, you're going to have the dominant trait, right? So most diseases that are located on the X chromosome, they are recessive. But if you're a boy and you only have one X chromosome, if you get one copy of that defective gene, like color blindness, on the one X chromosome you have, you're going to be colorblind because you have no dominant gene to overpower that, if that makes sense. Whereas for a girl having two X chromosomes, she could get the defective color blindness gene on one X, but have the normal gene on the other X, and that's going to cancel it out, and she's not going to be colorblind. And so that's why so many more men are colorblind, because if either of their parents carries the defective gene, then they could pass it on to them and they're going to be colorblind. Whereas a girl has to get it from her mom and from her dad in order to be colorblind. So along with that, my second fact is that no women existed with hemophilia until like the 1900s, and that is because hemophilia is located on the X chromosome, and so a boy can get hemophilia if his mom is just a carrier of the gene. She could have a normal gene and the hemophilia gene on one of her X's, and she doesn't have hemophilia because she has that dominant gene to take over. But if she passes on that hemophilia gene to her son, he is going to have hemophilia. And if you don't know what hemophilia is, it's basically like a blood clotting disorder. So you bleed out really easily, your blood doesn't clot, and obviously that would be very deadly if you just got like a cut or something. And so men or boys that had hemophilia wouldn't live past childhood or maybe their early teens. And as I said, for a woman to end up with hemophilia, she would have to get the gene from both of her parents, which means her dad would have to have hemophilia. He would have to have the disease. But when do boys die with hemophilia if they don't have treatment? They die before they're even able to reproduce. So because there were never any dads with hemophilia before treatment existed, there could never be any daughters with hemophilia. So, kind of cool that hemophilia only began existing in females when treatment for it developed. So, more treatment equals more people with the disease, which is kind of cool, kind of crazy, but yeah. And my last fact about sex chromosomes is one that was the whole basis of my last teaching you about genetics video, and that is that all calico cats are females. So calico cats, okay, so the color gene for cats is on the X chromosome, right? So like I said, females have two X's, males only have one. And something kind of weird about X chromosomes is that in each is deactivated, but that happens pretty much randomly. Like, which one is deactivated is pretty random. And so think about color in cats. So there's a black color gene and an orange color gene in these calico cats, and males only have one X chromosome. So if they get the black gene, they're black. If they get the orange gene, they're orange. Whereas for females, if they have an orange gene on one of their X chromosomes and a black gene on the other X chromosome, and in each cell of their body one of those X's is deactivated randomly, then some of their cells, aka some of their hair follicles, are going to be orange and others are going to be black. So you get a calico cat, whereas for males, you're just going to be one color because you just have one X chromosome. So yeah, you can impress your friends with that by, if you see a calico cat, be like, I bet your cat is a girl. And they'll be like, yeah, how'd you know? And you'll be like, Pamela taught me. So yeah. Okay, so that is about X chromosomes. The next fact I have is that the rate of sickle cell anemia is way higher in Africa than elsewhere in the world. And this brings up something called heterozygote advantage, and it also deals with like the principle of adaptations and survival of the fittest, Darwin stuff. So sickle cell anemia, you might have heard of this disease. It is basically where your red blood cells are sickle shaped. So rather than being round like they're supposed to be, they are shaped like almost like a hook. It's a disease of the red blood cells, and it is a very serious disease. It causes a lot of pain and a lot of issues, so very serious disease. However, if you have sickle cell anemia, you cannot get malaria. Malaria cannot travel through your red blood cells if you have sickle red blood cells. And so in areas where malaria is really common, like Africa, sickle cell actually protects you from that. And that's why sickle cell is an adaptation in Africa. And it's why so many more people have it. And sickle cell is a recessive disease. So, like I said before, you would need both copies of the defective gene to actually have sickle cell. But if you have one copy of the defective gene and one copy of the normal gene, like I said with recessive, you would still have the dominant trait, which is to not have sickle cell anemia. However, you have enough of the sickle cell gene to be resistant to malaria. So people that are heterozygotes have the best of both worlds. They don't suffer from sickle cell anemia, or at least not severe sickle cell anemia, and they can't get malaria. So those heterozygotes are very prominent in Africa, but because we have so many heterozygotes, if two heterozygotes have a child, there's a 25% chance that the child will have sickle cell anemia because they still have that gene and they can still pass it on. So I don't know if that really makes sense, but essentially the prevalence of malaria makes the sickle cell gene stick around because people with it do have an advantage of at least living to reproduction age. So that gene sticks around, and that is why it is very common in people of African much the same principle applies there of heterozygote advantage and all of that. So, pretty interesting. But yeah. Okay. The next fact that I have is that it is possible for a person to have two completely different sets of DNA, and that is called a chimera. So you might know, when I told my brother this, he was like, oh, there's this like mythological creature called a chimera. Yeah, the name comes from that. Because it's like, I think it's like 2 or 3 different animals all in one or something. But yeah, so it is possible. One way that this happens is if you absorb your twin in the womb, then you can theoretically have your DNA and their DNA in your body. So you are essentially 2 people, sort of, at once. Obviously, they would have to be fraternal twins because identical twins have the same DNA anyway, so that wouldn't be a thing. But the way that I learned about this, or like was taught this, is that my very strict genetics teacher senior year of college put an extra credit question on an exam, and the question was, so a dad and his son go and get DNA testing, and the DNA testing shows them that the dad only shares 10% of his DNA with his son. And it was like, the wife claims there was no, like adultery or anything. How did it happen? And I got the question wrong initially. I was like, I don't know, she had to have cheated. But no. The answer is that the dad was a chimera, and that he had actually absorbed his fraternal twin brother in the womb. And so when they took his DNA from his blood in order to test his DNA compared with his child, it was actually the DNA of his brother that was being tested. And so that's why the test showed he only shared like 10% of his DNA with his child, because it was essentially saying, you're not this child's father, you're his uncle, because that's the DNA they were taking from his blood, whereas his sperm, which is what he obviously made the child with, was his own DNA. So, like, he is the father. His brother, his non-existent brother, is not the father, but according to the blood test that they ran, he is the uncle. Crazy. So he's a chimera. He has 2 sets of DNA, essentially. I think I've also seen this with people that absorbed their twin in the womb, and they have like 2 different skin colors. I think I saw someone that had like one side of them was one skin color and the other side was like darker. So I'm assuming that is also a case of chimerism, where you have 2 sets of DNA. So yeah, pretty wild. And obviously, yeah, I learned that from an extra credit question on an exam. Okay, the next one, ooh, this is something I learned in that same class, that you can technically have a baby with 3 parents. Yeah, a 3-parented child. And this is because most of your DNA is located in the nucleus of your cell. You might know that. But you also have DNA in your mitochondria. You've probably heard of mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. And your mitochondrial DNA and your nuclear DNA are separate. They are 2 different things. And your mitochondrial so that it's the dad's sperm. The dad is the dad. And the nuclear DNA comes from the mother, and the mitochondrial DNA comes from a donor egg. And so the child has three parents. They have the DNA from three different sources. But yeah, so it's done so that the mother doesn't pass on her mitochondrial DNA to the child, but you get a child with three parents, which is kind of nuts. Two moms and a dad. Pretty cool. I feel like people probably don't know a lot about mitochondrial DNA, or that that is a thing, but yeah, you could have a three-parented child. I don't know if it's actually been done, or if we just learned that as like a theoretical thing. I'm not sure. I think you can do it. So, pretty cool. Okay, the next one is about epigenetics. So I don't know if you guys have heard about epigenetics. It's essentially, the meaning of epigenetics is basically anything on top of or accessory to the actual DNA sequence. So you are born with your DNA sequence, and it stays the way it is, and that is what you will pass on to your child, is what you are born with. You can't just like gain knowledge and pass that knowledge on to your child. No, you pass on what you're born with. But epigenetics are basically describing modifications to your DNA that can be passed on. And this is actually a relatively new discovery. Like, we didn't really know epigenetics was a thing. And it's kind of funny because we always learned in genetics about Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, and he was basically like a scientist or geneticist or whatever, and he hypothesized like his evolution, survival of the fittest hypothesis was that you could like teach yourself things and then pass that on to your child. So he thought that the way giraffes got long necks was by reaching up really high to try and reach like fruit, and that lengthened their necks, and then they passed on a long neck to their child. And he's always kind of been thought of as like an idiot because we know that that's not true, but it's kind of funny now that we know about epigenetics that like he wasn't that wrong. But basically the things that epigenetics can deal with, one is that maternal diet, so a mother's diet, especially while she's pregnant, but also like before that, can impact the weight and metabolic disorders in a child. So I think if a mother is like malnourished during pregnancy, her child has metabolic issues and disorders. And I think, what were we learning about? I don't know if it was the Irish potato famine or another like mass hunger issue, but all of the babies that were born like 9 months after that had metabolic issues and were overweight or obese because the mothers were starved while they were pregnant. So yeah, pretty crazy. Let's see, did I write any others down? Prenatal stress and behavioral / psychiatric issues. So yeah, that was another one that like if the mother was stressed during pregnancy, it could cause genetic psychiatric issues for the child. Basically, this whole fact is just saying that lifestyle can actually impact genetics and can be passed on. So we didn't really know that before, but now we do. Okay, the next one to be able to eat lactose after you are a child, but lactose tolerance is a mutation. So it's actually most common in people of European ancestry, I think because there are so many cows in Europe that basically somebody had a mutation that allowed them to eat milk or drink milk, because there were so many cows and it was advantageous to be able to drink the milk for calories and sustenance. And so that was the mutation, and it spread because it's advantageous. And so about a third of the world is actually lactose tolerant, and the rest are lactose intolerant. So if you think you're not lactose intolerant, you might be kind of lactose intolerant, because 2/3 of people are. So obviously it's like varying degrees of severity, but only about a third of people can legitimately digest lactose. I think I'm one of them. I'm convinced I'm one of them. I have no issue with lactose. Okay. The next fact is that dark skin is a mutation to protect against UV light. So, yeah, I believe light skin is like the original, but dark skin and an increase in melanin developed as a reaction to the UV light. So, obviously, too much UV light gives you skin cancer or other issues. It causes mutations in your skin. And so, a high amount of melanin or dark or black skin developed in like equatorial areas of Africa where the UV exposure is so high that you have to have some sort of protection against it. And so the high amount of melanin prevents the absorption of UV light. So yeah, it's necessary to prevent against like skin cancer, whereas in the North Pole or like really far away from the equator, you actually need to absorb as much UV light as you possibly can, because you still do need some UV light. So you have to have really light skin so that you absorb all the UV light that you're being exposed to, or else you can get rickets, apparently. You can get rickets if you don't get enough UV light exposure. And so, yeah, that's why you have really dark skin if you are closer to the equator, to try and prevent UV light absorption, and you need to have lighter skin when you're farther away. So I think like children that have really dark skin living super far from the equator actually need like UV light supplements or vitamin D supplements or whatever to try and prevent against rickets. And then obviously if you have really light skin and you're living at the equator, you need a lot of sunblock. So yeah. So the last genetics fact that I have for this video, I think is something I've mentioned before in another video, and it is about ice fish, which are fish that have basically evolved to have clear blood. So they are fish with clear blood. I think they're in Antarctica. I don't remember everything about these fish because it was a long time ago that I learned this, but essentially in the really, really cold water, the blood like gets thicker and has trouble moving through your body when it's so cold, and hemoglobin makes blood thicker. So with more hemoglobin, the blood is like even thicker and struggles to move through the body. And in this really cold water in Antarctica, there's a really high oxygen content, and so the fish essentially evolved to where they could absorb the oxygen through their gills or through their skin, and they didn't actually need hemoglobin in the blood to carry oxygen. So by losing their hemoglobin genes, the blood will like move through their body more easily when it's really cold, and they're still able to absorb oxygen. So yeah, but basically it's just cool, first of all, because it shows like adaptations like that aren't an animal like thinking, oh, this would be cool, let's evolve that. It's a mutation that happens by chance, and then because it allows an organism to survive, it continues. Like the adaptation or the mutation gets passed on. So essentially, one of these fish lost their hemoglobin genes, but they were still able to survive, and they maybe actually did better because their blood wouldn't freeze. So like that's how the adaptation arose. It's not like they like needed to have that and so they developed it, if that makes sense. But it's also just something really cool because it shows how different organisms can be. Like, we're humans and we look like this, but there are fish out there that literally have clear blood. Like, that's so cool. So I don't know. But yeah, I think that's all of the facts that I had for this video. Sorry it was a little chaotic because it's been a long time since I learned these things. But I hope you enjoyed watching me be really nerdy for a half hour. I love talking about this stuff. I love genetics. I think it's so cool. So I hope this was somewhat easy to follow. I don't know. I feel like it's easier if I was like drawing and could write out this stuff, but again, I don't know how to film that. Yeah, I just like don't know how to do that setup. So maybe I'll try and add in some pictures or something. I don't know. We'll see if I'm able to edit the video like that, but I really hope you guys enjoyed this very nerdy video. I hope you learned something, or at least were just able to relax to me talking for this whole time. So yeah, thank you so much for